Management of the airport, a press release was issued yesterday. That's the latest update I had. I know on the spot, of course, our fire department served as backup for the members that had returned to work that day because they were able to secure sufficient firefighters with that expertise to be able to continue to maintain flights. And as she mentioned, several thousands of passengers were able to arrive over the weekend, including on that day. What I have asked is that, of course, whatever the concerns are, that they are heard. I was assured that they were in discussions with the firefighters, among others, pertaining to benefits and or bonuses that hadn't been paid out. And I expect that this is being resolved. I do see that the minister is back in the meeting in this press briefing, and she'll be able to give you more updates. But I would like to remind that government does not interfere in the day-to-day management of the government-owned companies. That is for the management, the supervisory, and in this case, the holding company. Yeah, so they report to us, and as such, we can have discussions with them. But the day-to-day management of the airport is for the responsibility of the management. Minister De Wever, if you would like to add.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Sorry for that, I dropped out. Thank you for the question, Mr. Brown. Prime Minister answered it perfectly. The one part in terms of my presence at the airport is that civil aviation falls under the Ministry of TAIAT. As such, the Ministry of TAIAT is responsible for the safety and security of the airport. Hence my presence at the airport to ensure that it was safe and secure to continue our airplanes arriving to the airport without an issue. Very early in the morning, I was updated by this Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Michel Hyman, who informed me that there was a tardy arrival of workers from the fire department. The airport cannot function at Category 9, where we receive our larger planes, such as Air France and cargo, if we do not have a full staff on hand, on site. It was quickly resolved because we do have standby staff. We even reached out to the fire department, the regular fire department under the Prime Minister, which there was no need for it because the other firefighters that were on standby were there to cover the, cover the schedule of the ones that called in sick. Everything is being handled. A report was received by the managing board of the company, of the airport, as well as a report was done by Civil Aviation through Mr. Hawley, Mr. Lewis Hawley, and any negotiations that have to be done and managed between the fire department and the airport management team is currently underway. I would like to announce to the public that there were no flights that were canceled that day because of a result of half of the staff showing up and the other half of the staff being ill. But as the Prime Minister mentioned, this is an issue for management. My involvement is that of civil aviation safety and security. And ultimately, they do report to the shareholders, which is the government, but they are Envy, and they are in charge of their day-to-day operations. And they have reassured the government and the stakeholders that this is under control and will be and continue to be handled by Mr. Hyman and Mr. Mingo. Thank you.
About a few weeks ago, Minister, the TJIE Operational Board started a procedure against the CEO. What's the opinion of the Minister of TAIAT and, if possible, the Council of Ministers with the procedures that started against the CEO where they asked him to resign and, if not possible, dismissal very soon?
It was the holding company via Mr. Dunker that started the procedures where there is a discussion and negotiating going on between the operating company who reports to the holding company, which is managed by the managing director, Mr. Dunker. The conversations and discussions are still ongoing. At the same time, everyone has all hands on deck. Just because there is a discussion and a negotiation going on internally between management does not mean that the functioning of the airport does not have the attention and priority and of the managing board, both Mr. Mingo, actually all three, Mr. Mingo, Mr. Van der Meijden, and Mr. Hyman. So yes, there is something that was prematurely leaked to the press. I do not have an opinion on that until I continue discussions with both the managing board of the operating company as well as the managing director of the holding, Mr. Dexter Duncan. Once I do, I will be able to update the public on that.
Minister Weaver, concerning the airport, as a point of clarification, you said that Mr. Hyman and Mr. Mingo has the situation under control. However, the reason why the situation took place was because of Mr. Mingo. So is the Council of Ministers at least looking at the developments or at least the effects that Mr. Mingo is causing the country? That's the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Dick. You cut out at the very end of your question if you were asking me whether or not I was told that the reason for the sick out, quote unquote, sick out is because of Mr. Mingo. I was at the airport and that was not the reason that was given to me. The fire department had the opportunity to talk to me directly. I did not receive that as an explanation for it. It is an internal situation that I will not put on a public display here in a press briefing. And any conversation for the reason of a sick out, I will discuss with the holding and operating together in a meeting that we actually had planned to happen this week. Hoping that answers your question.
Here's the thing. The airport situation came into play. And you know, when you speak this way, you start up like, what is wrong with us? You told us, listen, you want the money for the airport? You must take the CFO, who we suggest you should get. So some riffraff who retire in almost in a wheelchair, we pick him up, send him down there. It doesn't matter who he is, you know. He could have been picking up garbage, he could have been sweeping the street, it doesn't matter. We just want somebody there. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad thing for me, really. You know what's a bad thing for me, really? We say, okay, you're going to be there for a period of time, Fernando. But in that period of time, you're going to train a counterpart who's going to take over. So if you say you're going to train a counterpart, then everything that we are looking at is that counterpart from St. Martin to take over.
Oh, yeah.
The counterpart is the next European. That the St. Martin present person who is suggested to be the counterpart, training the CFO, who can train the European who's coming to be a counterpart, and we ain't saying nothing about it.
You said a lot of stuff there, you know. I don't ever understand what you said.
You understand it?
Wait.
You understand it? Let me break it down for you.
I understood what you said, but I don't believe everybody listening to us.
Okay, let me break it down.
I don't think he's ever understand what you said.
No, I understand it very well.
I don't understand it.
I understand it very well.
He's ever understand what you say.
Okay? No, I may not understand the dangerousness of it. Mm-hmm. Let me explain. Take the young lady, Miss Lake.
Yeah.
Miss Lake, who's a St. Martin present person here right now.
Doing the job.
Doing the job right now. Training the CFO.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
The one that was sent.
The one that was sent.
Yeah.
Let me, you know what?
Take your time.
Let me speak slow.
Okay. Good.
Miss Lake, who has been doing the job for years at the airport in the finance department, is training the CFO who was sent. Okay? That CFO who was sent has to train the counterpart, who now is another European who they sent. And the one who is supposed to take over is the CFO position, who's supposed to be the counterpart, is training both of them direct and indirectly, but she can't be the counterpart.
management and staff of Phillipsburg Auto Accessories wishes you and yours the very best for 2021.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Minister DeWeaver, if I might pose a few questions to you this morning. I'm curious about, we had heard you speak earlier in previous briefings about the upcoming COVID insurance requirement that would be required for visitors to the island. Curious as to when that will begin. And you spoke briefly in your opening remarks about clusters. I'm curious, are we seeing any cluster develop within the...
Thanks, Dr. Salk, for the question. You cut off towards the end, but I think you were just asking about clusters. In regards to the insurance, we were originally pushing for January 4th date to go live. However, as you probably may know, about a week ago, there were some issues with the current system that we are using for the StMartinEntry.com, where emails were delayed going to persons applying for it. It has been fixed. It had been handled very, very quickly by the team and resolved. But because of this issue that was happening with a delay in email replies of approvals going to travelers, we decided to push it forward to make sure that when the additional program of the insurance goes on that website, that it is ready to be handled without any hiccups. And so the current date for that is a week later, which means that it will be January 11th. In terms of clusters, up to 3 weeks ago, there was a cluster in a nightlife area. So it's not to basically point light at nighttime activities only. During the day, we happen to be a whole lot more responsible and aware of keeping a mask on and practicing social distance, even though we might be working amongst the same staff members. At night, when we're at dinner, it's a time that we are relaxed, or when we're at a bar or a nightclub, we are relaxed. That's the whole point of those establishments, is to have fun. The thing is that we can have fun, but we can have fun in a very responsible manner. And again, like the Prime Minister just pointed out, I hope you all can hear me properly, because I am seeing that I have some quality messages coming through on my system. What the Prime Minister said is that we did miss a couple days of testing results. Now, that is because of the holidays. I'm not saying that I anticipated to go higher or lower. The point is that we are missing a couple days. So it's about managing expectations for the public. Do not let your guard down because we are under 100 persons, 100 infections or active cases. Please do not let your guard down. The clusters will come where we let our guard down. And so I will ask the public once again that as we go into these New Year celebrations, that you continue to be safe and to keep it under 100. Actually, let it get even lower than that. We have people coming in. What I want the public to know is that this is the highest number that we have had since the island reopened. This past week, yesterday, the numbers that came in, we had over 7,400 passengers, regardless of whether or not those passengers stay on the island or go to neighboring St. Bart's and Anguilla. The point is that our numbers are going up in terms of our passenger arrivals. The only way that we can continue doing that is by ensuring that we keep our travelers safe, having this insurance implemented, continue to do everything that we have been doing to keep our numbers down, and ensure that we can continue being prosperous for our economy in the new year.
I'd like to first update on the fact that on December 28th, we got the 61.2 million guilders as a loan from the Netherlands on our Dutch guilder account at the central bank. And we appreciate this. And I would like to thank all of those involved in the negotiations and the process of the discussions that we had to reach to this point. I would like to thank you again. In addition to that, I'd like to say that last year when I did the final press briefing of the year, I had no idea that 2020 was going to be such a challenging year. But despite all that transpired in 2020, we got through. And so regardless of what 2021 is bringing, we will get through it again as a people and as a country. We see that the economy of every country in the world has been affected by this pandemic, which has placed significant strain on countries' finances, and St. Martin, with that, is no exception. Navigating this pandemic as part of the Council of Ministers meant that I've had countless meetings, long work days, and intense discussions over the year to be able to make some tough decisions for our country. We've had numerous stumbling blocks along the ways, and it has not been easy, but nothing lasts forever. Absolutely nothing. Which means that this pandemic can't last forever either. This rough patch that we are now going through cannot last forever. This financial turmoil that we are going through cannot and will not last forever either. And with that in mind, we just have to keep it moving forward. Looking back at the year now, yes, it was very, very challenging and a tough year, but instead of regrets, you can choose to learn from our tough situations. I myself am learning from these tough situations. As a country, we can now look back at all of this and all the shortcomings that were revealed to us this year, acknowledge it, accept it, and make a conscious decision to fix it moving forward. Yes, there were a lot of mistakes in the past, and yes, this Council of Ministers may be at the burden of those mistakes, but it's not something that we could put the blame on. It's not something that we could escape from, and we shall use those burdens as motivation going forward. In 2021, all the plans of the Ministry of Finance that were scheduled for 2020 obviously did not materialize, but we aim to have them executed in 2021. Some of those plans were, for example, going online, our online payments. We're hoping to have this done in the first quarter of 2021. Also have our financial management system up and running, which will basically digitize and automate our whole process within the Ministry of Finance. One of the reasons why we are looking forward to these processes is because one of the main goals for myself in the Ministry of Finance in 2021 is to increase our customer service. We believe that that is one area that we have seen lacking over the last 10 years at least as a country, and we hope to improve this to give in our efforts to give back more to our community. Although we've already managed to get the ball rolling on some projects before the year ended, the pandemic did cause a delay in the overall timelines, but I am confident that we will manage to complete those projects next year. I'd also like to thank companies and entities that helped us throughout this year, persons that helped us out throughout this year to help create the payroll support and other programs to be able to navigate through this pandemic. One such company I'd like to thank for sure is SFV and the director Glenn Carty. I'd also like to thank Makisha Brooks at SMDF for their support and the income and unemployment support. And I'd also like to thank the Council of Ministers for their support and efforts the last couple of months. And I know at times I've been very strict with times and dates and very pushy to get things done at times, but knowing that it was all in the best interest of the people of St. Martin and the population. So once again, and I'd also like to thank the people of St. Martin for your patience through this pandemic and your belief and your faith in us, and for all of the prayers for the Council of Ministers going forward. I'd also like to thank the media sitting in front of me for your questions and keeping us sharp. I would like to wish the people of St. Martin a happy and blessed New Year going forward.
management and staff of Philipsburg Auto Accessories wishes you and yours the very best for 2021.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Well, thank you again so much, Marcel, for joining us today, our third episode, St. Martin vis-a-vis international affairs, in particular, French St. Martin, our most valuable partner. In your introduction, you gave quite a lot of demonstrations of, the need to work together with our partners to the north, sort of showing how the lack of partnership and cooperation has resulted throughout time in a lot of abuse of the border situation and, realizing that the policies made for St. Martin have to take in both sides. In your opinion, what really has to be done, or where can we work on more to sort of strengthen the relationship between both sides and sort of harmonize better? Because as we've indicated before, if one side has a problem, the other side suffers. So what in your opinion can be done?
Well, I think what can be done is, first of all, we need to have a serious commitment from both sides, representative in the both sides, about working together and understanding and having the daily or weekly contacts to understand what the problems are. Mm-hmm. Because those problems, as we go along in the future, the problems will become, in my opinion, more and more serious and more detrimental to matters on both sides of the island. We've had in the past the issue about immigration, and where after many years there was a treaty that finally came through, the Dutch-Franco Treaty, that controlled the entrance at the airports for foreigners. Regretfully, that treaty has not been implemented up until this day the correct way. That treaty calls for both sides, so the Dutch side to put immigration officers at the airport in Grand Cas, and the French side to put immigration officers at Juliana Airport, and to have a joint sort of control. I've been told over the years, and from while I was there as Prime Minister, it has come down to a matter of financing to get personnel and so. We've also had a second treaty that was negotiated a while, and that was signed in 2015, I think, and that's the Treaty on the Police Cooperation. That one is working up until now, the cooperation between the law enforcement on the Dutch side and French side. That provides for instance, law enforcement from Dutch side with the assistance of from law enforcement from the French side to do house searches in case there's a reason to search houses on either side. And also what it's called basically the hot pursuit, so that if you're following someone and they run over the border, that you don't have to stop and call the gendarmes, that you can run over, follow them legally and be on the French side. That cooperation has been working very well. But there's more things to be worked on, in my opinion. In my opinion, eventually we should get over to doing a modern treaty on cooperation. We have tried being liaison officer. We have brought the courts together. People say, well, the courts, why the courts? Let me give you an example. Both sides of the island are suffering that court verdicts, when the marshal goes to deliver a verdict to someone, they can't find them. They run on the other side of the island. So the French side has those that the marshals can't find them because they run to the Dutch side and hide, and vice versa. So that's an area that needs to be worked on. When it comes to economic affairs, that's probably the biggest one. from simple things as cooperation and understanding and agreements where bus transportation is concerned. You know, we don't have a public transportation system on the island. So we have individual bus owners, they're privately bus owners, that both Dutch and French side, that's running back and forth. And there's always been some stress levels in the relationship. Sometimes it's nice and calm, and then it boils up and it becomes a problem. The seaports, we need to get some cooperation. We used to have a cooperation between the two ports when it comes to promotion matters at the FCC conference. That I don't know if that's still happening at the moment. Joint promotion for tourism and so have started, but it's not structured. The present president of the collectivity, Mr. Daniel Gibbs, he has been working and he has an idea of a Congress, he calls it, of Saint-Martin, where there would be a body that would work on matters that concerns both sides and cooperating. And the reason for that, and I can understand why he's trying to achieve that, is simple because the cooperation must not be dependent on who is in office at that moment.
Exactly.
Because if you do not have the affinity to understand and the desire and the wishes, whether through family links or whether through experience, and simple understanding that both sides cannot be doing things separately, then you don't understand it. So with a Congress, give it a name, a Congress or whatever council or whatever, give the animal a name. You will have a structure in place approved legally by hopefully all four partners, the two local partners and the Republic and the Dutch, where they will be legally put down some formulations, some agreements that certain issues will be tendered and be handled by this organization. So that no matter if you have a change in government, that this organization will continue doing its work where cooperation is concerned.